Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the Thursday night showdown picks between the Broncos and the Browns. A super ugly game on paper with no Baker Mayfield, and Bridgewater is currently questionable. I thought the coach said he's probable that he's going to play, or like he expects him to play. So I think Bridgewater will hopefully be in there, but you're looking at Case Keenum starting for the Browns. And just a super low total right now, but it's still a showdown slate, which means we still got a lot of money up for grabs. So let's go ahead and break it down. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Even though these games, well, this one in particular is looking pretty ugly, there's still a lot of options because with some of these injuries and on both sides, there's open up some value. So first thing you're going to notice is that the Browns, both of their running backs are out. A team that relies on running the football is going to have a tough time doing that today with no Nick Chubb and no Kareem Hunt. So you're looking at Dearness Johnson getting his first start of his Browns career. He is very affordable. He's going to be super popular, but I think that makes a ton of sense. He's only $4,600 in the flex for a guy that can also catch passes out of the backfield. He has to be probably one of my favorite Browns to look at on this slate tonight. And then on the Broncos side, they still without Jerry Jeudy, although it looks like he's going to be able to return. He's probably not going to come back for this one, but probably maybe next game. Give him like 10 more days to get ready. I already know if they have a bye week. They might have a bye week coming up, but he's going to return in the near future. But looks like you're going to get another week where you have Hinton at only $2,000 on this slate. And if you look at the snap counts, if you look at the snap counts for the Broncos wide receivers, you'll see that he slowly started to increase his playing time since Jeudy has been out. So in week 4, he played 43% of snaps. Week 5, that number jumped a little bit up to 65%. And then last week, still played a good amount of snaps for them. Got similar snaps, 63. So you're getting a good amount of snaps out of him as a third wide receiver. He got 5 targets last week. They kind of rallied to make it look like somewhat of a competitive game near the end. But if he's on the field running routes, only 2,000, he's going to be one of the better value plays on the slate. So if you don't want to pay for a kicker, you can save half the money and go with Hinton. You could easily outproduce a kicker if he, gets 5 or 6 targets, maybe happens to break a big one or get one into the end zone. So he's my favorite value piece on this slate. I don't really see myself going to like anybody in that similar range. If you wanted to pay up a little bit, I think the Broncos defense is in play. If Bridgewater does start, then I'm not looking at the Browns defense too much. If Bridgewater happens to not play, then both defenses are in play. I wouldn't be shocked if you see an optimal with both defenses in there if both starting quarterbacks are out. But we already know that Case Keenum is starting, and with Keenum, we know that he turns the ball over a lot, fumbling and throwing interceptions. This Broncos defense will be able to get after the quarterback, and they have a lot of talent there. Even though the fantasy points don't really show it, they're still a good defense. Last couple of games, they've just been giving up some points, like to the Raiders last week, giving up 34. Not great, but I still believe in this defense, and I think they're going to be able to right the ship. Early on, they were great. They gave up 13, and 0 to start, and then they've kind of getting blown up recently. But there's still a lot of talent on that defensive side. I think they're going to figure it out, especially against Case Keenum. So with only $200 difference between them, I like the Broncos defense. Higgins looks like no OBJ tonight. He has a quote-unquote uphill battle to play. So he's probably not going to play. You're going to see Higgins get a lot of work once again as the third wide receiver. He would have been the second wide receiver, but it looks like Jarvis Landry is going to get activated, which is a good sign for the Browns because they need at least one playmaker out there on the field. And he's going to get a lot of targets, I would expect, from Case Keenum. So I like him as the favorite wide receiver to pay up for. He's not even expensive at 66. And then you have Donovan Peoples-Jones, who had only 4 catches, but they went for north of 100 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. So he kind of broke the slate. Well, not broke the slate, but he kind of really helped his position with the value that he got at only $4,400 against the Cardinals. I don't think that you can expect 2 touchdowns for any of these wide receivers with Case Keenum throwing the ball. And I would rather just go up to Jarvis Landry, the safer option, at only $200 more. And then it's always tough to pick between these Broncos running backs because they have Melvin Gordon. They both get around 10 to 15 touches. You're just going to have to hope that you can get the one that gets into the end zone correctly. Just there's really no way that you can really predict that. One thing that you could look to is that looking at red zone opportunities, Gordon does have 2 touchdowns, but one of those went for like 70 yards. And so they're both getting similar work. It's really tough. They're both almost the same price tag as well. I would probably side with Melvin Gordon just with the larger sample size that we have with him. And he can catch some passes. Same thing with Williams, but he's a little bit more involved there. If you don't want to deal with that headache, just pay up for Tim Patrick, who has great chemistry with Bridgewater and gives you touchdown upside. He's been targeted in the red zone a bunch. We know he had 2 touchdowns start the year. He's pretty consistent. He's only dropped under 12 fantasy points once. So he runs a lot of routes. He's out there on the field the most out of the wide receivers. Him and Sutton are almost tied at the top. Speaking of Courtland Sutton, you'd expect big things out of him today. He's starting to really produce. 14 target game, 11 target game the last 2. He looks like a great captain option at this price tag. Keenum is fine if you wanted to play him. It depends on what kind of lineup you're building. If you're building a lineup where you expect the Broncos to just dominate, then he shouldn't be in there. If you think that the Browns can keep it close a little bit at home, then he would be a guy that you plug in at the flex. But personally, I like Bridgewater more, and I like Sutton more. But there's just not that many pay-ups because a lot of these guys are out. Like normally you'd pay up for Chubb, you'd normally pay up for Hunt and leave some money on the table on the showdown slate. But looking at some builds here, Bridgewater as a potential captain. If I pair him with Courtland Sutton, you can pair him with Noah Fant as well if you wanted to do that. And then if I go with Hinton as well, at least get 4 Broncos in there where I have 66.50. You can plug in Jarvis Landry. Now we have 67. This is where you could just leave some money and go with Dearness Johnson and kind of be happy with that. If you never feel good about leaving money on the table, I know some people just have to use all their salary, then instead of Hinton, you can go with the kicker, McLaughlin. They're probably going to have to settle for some field goals against this Broncos defense with Keenum at the quarterback position. So at least you can get a kicker that might get like 3 or 4 field goal attempts. Yeah, because I don't think they'll be able to punch in multiple Well, they might have 1 or 2 touchdowns, but I really don't see them scoring 3 or 4 touchdowns. McLaughlin makes sense. He's probably my... both kickers are almost the same price tag, but I think with the Broncos, I have more confidence a little bit to score touchdowns than I do with the Browns, so I might side with McLaughlin on this slate. So that's one build that I like. Do one with Courtland Sutton at captain because he can definitely break the slate. Sutton, still want to go with Bridgewater. I like Jarvis Landry. Just Landry and Dearness Johnson are the 2 favorites on the Brown side. You just know you're going to get a lot of targets from Landry, and then Dearness Johnson's going to get a lot of touches, and he's just too cheap for the running back at the running back position. You could even side with him at captain if you wanted to do that, but maybe we'll look at that kind of build. But now we have $6,400 left. You can throw in Tim Patrick. We have 52. Plug in one of the kickers. Wanted to do that. Felton is also going to get some work for them, but he's kind of already somewhat expensive. He's $5,000. Dearness Johnson's only 46, so I wouldn't look to him. Instead of maybe Tim Patrick, you can upgrade a little bit more to like Noah Fant. Then we have 46. Maybe it looks better to plug in one of the kickers here. Or if you wanted to play Case Keenum, you can do that. Then you can plug in the Broncos defense here. Another viable approach. Another build that we could look to is Noah Fant at captain. That's fine. I'd probably rank it Sutton's my favorite, then Fant, then Patrick, and then Hinton just for the value. Let's do one with Dearness Johnson at captain. With him, we'll be able to get to Teddy Bridgewater, Sutton, Fant, Landry, and just get to like Williams or Melvin Gordon. If you wanted to do that, well, you're not going to be able to get to Gordon unless you pay down a little bit. Instead of going with Fant, you go with Tim Patrick. Then you can get to Melvin Gordon. So that's fine. But personally, I think on this one, I'm definitely going to have Bridgewater if he plays. I want the starting quarterback of at least one of these teams, and I have more confidence in him than Case Keenum. And then I'm going to pair him with Sutton for sure. And then I like Landry and Dearness Johnson to bring it back on the Brown side. I'm looking at probably a 4-2 or a 3-3 stack. I don't think I'll get a 5-1 stack on either side. I do think the Broncos will win this game. So right now they're plus money. So you might want to take a shot on them because I think Bridgewater will get clear to play. and I think they're due for a bounce back after the last couple of weeks. But that's about it for the DraftKings side. Let's jump over to FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel, you have Bridgewater at 14.5. Then you get a bunch of guys out here. Sutton is 12.5. They make for a great stack. You're getting a bunch of Broncos. Takes a while before you get to the first Brown guy, and that is Jarvis Landry at 10,000. Dearness Johnson is also 10,000, so he's priced up on FanDuel, but he's still fine play. Fant is cheaper than Johnson, which I probably like. And then where do we get to? Case Keenum might just have to be kind of a plug-in at 5,000. That is a shame because any time you get a quarterback at this price tag, he's probably going to pay off on Showdown. So I got to at least go with Keenum on FanDuel. But you're going to have a lot of money left over Bridgewater, Sutton to pair. Just throw in Keenum. I guess you kind of have to, at least in cash games, not in tournaments, but in cash, you definitely want to go with Keenum. Just way too cheap, insanely. He's at least probably like he should be 15,000 or not 15, but he should be like 13 to 14,000 at least. Let's see if we go with like Jarvis Landry here to pair with him. We have 18,000, so you pay up for anybody. Really, there's no way you're gonna be able to use all the money up if you play Case Keenum. But Bridgewater, Sutton, Patrick is 11K. Not that it matters on the price tags anymore. You don't even have to look at the salary. You just plug in the guys that project the best. But just seeing if there's anybody at the bottom. Really, I don't think you need to go with this sort of cheap guys here because you have Keenum as a guy you're just going to have into your lineup. So, at least to go with these guys, if I have probably like Fant a little bit more than Tim Patrick, just projection-wise anyways. And then wanted to plug in a Brown to pair with Case Keenum. I'm between Jarvis Landry and Dearness Johnson. Johnson might be a little bit safer just with the carries that he's going to get. Or you can go Jarvis Landry. Both similar. But these three are going to be the key building blocks for me. Maybe you want to be different. You play Sutton instead of Bridgewater at captain. That definitely could pay off. But that's about it for the video. Thank you for watching. Best of luck. You can check out the NBA video if you haven't already. And I'll see you all next time.